Hello, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. So, I have to go to work in about 2 hours. No, 4 hours. Sorry, not 2 hours. Thank God, 4 hours. I have to go to work in 4 hours. So, I'm going to do a quick live stream. I remember this incident with this crazy female pilot several years ago. And I wanted to talk about it because I recently watched The Young Turks, the Anna Kasparian, that news agency called The Young Turks, but it's with Anna Kasparian. They're not, well, they're in their 20s and 30s. I don't know why they named, I don't like saying the name The Young Turks. I guess they mean like they're in their 20s and 30s, but like they're not like, anyways, they're in their 20s and 30s, but The Young Turks. And I was watching Anna Kasparian. She accused the Michigan that guy who did the Michigan church, the Michigan shooter, the church shooter. She accused him of being crazy and something about satanic. He believed that the Latter-day Saints or something church was satanic, whatever. I don't know. I'm a scientist, so I kind of have a funny view of all churches, to be honest with you. But I want to specifically talk about this video because when everyone was calling this woman crazy, which I believe she is, I also had kind of another point of view that I was really hoping to share and to point out the dangers in society. So yes, this woman definitely openly crazy. When you watch the video, you can see that she's had some sort of psychotic break. But what I also see from this video is she's not a sociopath. And a sociopath is far more dangerous than this lady. In fact, this lady didn't actually crash the plane. She was a pilot, basically a pilot who had a good record up until this crazy outburst. Up until this crazy outburst, this female pilot, had a good record. So for anyone trying to right now, the other day someone called me misogynist, and I can't stand people accusing homosexual men of being misogynist. There's a difference between preference, right? What about straight women? Hey, straight women, are you misogynist because you prefer men over women? Hey, you don't want to date women. Hey, straight women, all the straight women, how come you're not lesbians? How come you don't like women? Does that mean you're misogynist? Are you misogynist because you prefer men over women? You prefer to date men over women. So same question to straight women. Hey, straight women, does that make you misogynist that if you don't, if you prefer to date men and not women? So people look at me and say, "Oh, I'm gay and I prefer to date men," and then they accuse me of being misogynist because they're like, "Oh, why doesn't he like women? Oh, he's a misogynist. He's a gay man. Oh, he's a gay man. Oh, means he doesn't like women. He must be a misogynist. That's why he doesn't like women." Wait, what? Let's ask the same question to straight women. If that's the logic, if you're women gonna apply the logic that gay men are misogynist and or gay men are gay because they're misogynist, they don't like women. If then why not ask the same question for straight women? Straight women, why aren't you lesbians? Why don't you like women? Is it because you're misogynist? So, anyways, you could see how stupid the logic is. Anyways, I'm not misogynist, but here you go. For years, I have been trying to expose dangerous sociopaths. Because let me tell you, sociopaths are far more dangerous than this woman. And Canada and the United States, I'm sure, especially in Ohio, Canada and the United States is full of sociopaths, psychopathic sociopaths. And let me say, this woman who had this mental meltdown, who got way more flack than any dangerous sociopath. Like, keep in mind, so this woman, like I was trying to say, for years, apparently she had a good record. Then what happened was over time, her husband was cheating on her, problems in the workplace, etc. She was allegedly called racist several times by passengers. And if you're a white person and you've been called racist, it's very annoying, especially when you're not racist. And it might even turn you into a racist. So imagine you're a pilot, a female pilot, you're perfectly nice, and random passengers just call you racist for no reason because whatever, you left, you didn't fly the plane on time, or your plane landed like 20 minutes late. Oh, what a racist. You know what I mean? So people don't like to be called racist. So that would drive someone crazy. Like I could just imagine this pilot. She graduated from pilot school. She might have been a great pilot. She was wonderful. She worked for several years, and then over time she becomes jaded. She sees all the corruption in the airline industry. She sees people losing their luggages, and then the airlines, and that's pretty crazy when you go to an airline and they lose your luggage and the airline blames you. That's actually pretty crazy. So, yeah, anyways, this woman, if we want to play, I don't like to say the word devil's advocate because I'm not a devil's advocate, but if we want to look at this woman's point of view, and like I said, I'm not defending crazy people. I'm just saying, so this woman obviously graduated pilot school. For her to graduate and get her pilot's license means she's very intelligent. Means she definitely didn't act crazy in pilot school, or she wouldn't have graduated her pilot's license, right? So her becoming a pilot in general means she has a level of competency, right? Several years go by. She probably worked very hard. She gets called racist for no reason by thugs. She gets abused, perhaps by her husband. People shit on her all day, and the people are loud and noisy on the plane. And then, after years and years of abuse, she finally snaps and has a mental episode on the plane. And she doesn't crash the plane though. So keep in mind, like, she actually didn't crash the plane. She did, like, it obviously could have crashed if she had continued. But at least the silver lining is she didn't crash the plane. Obviously, she shouldn't have flown the plane that day because she clearly had a mental breakdown. But what I'm saying is that people so quickly, and it's a lot of women, the same women who call me misogynist, but look at me, I'm defending this woman. I'm not defending her. What I'm doing is I'm trying to look at her point of view. Okay. Clearly, she has a level of competency. She graduated pilot school. She got her pilot's license. Clearly, she worked as a pilot for years. She successfully, it wasn't like this was her first plane she ever flew. She had successfully flown planes for years. So clearly, she had maintained a level of competency for a while. But then, over time, thuggies called her racist, and if you're white and someone calls you racist when you're not racist, that'll make you crazy. Because, people were, maybe her husband, apparently she had marital problems. And then, of course, all these crazy, both sides, Democrats, Republicans, constantly fighting back and forth, yelling on the planes, etc. So a lot of this stuff could really make someone go crazy. I mean, look at all of those school teachers that went nuts and insane because of the students were so crazy that it drove the teachers crazy. So all of these people were so quick to condemn this woman, call her a nut job, call her crazy, not even look at her side of the story. And sure, if you look at her rant on the plane, the pilot's rant, yeah, it definitely looks crazy, and she definitely should not have flown the plane that day. And she should be definitely further be examined whether she can still fly. But what I'm saying is that there's a bigger danger out there, and Candace Owens is starting to see that danger, or she's been seeing that danger for a while within her own not her own, like, she used to work for the Turning Point organization, right? Candace Owens is with the Charlie Kirk assassination, with Turning Point, with Israel. Candace Owens is starting to see, and Brigitte Macron and Emmanuel Macron, the French president, let's not forget them, who coincidentally, Candace Owens was spilling the beans, spilling the tea on those guys, and then suddenly the next thing you know, Candace Owens' best friend gets assassinated, as if there's no coincidence there. So clearly, there's a bigger problem in society than just crazy people like Anna Kasparian decided to call, and of course he was crazy, but I'm just saying there's an even bigger danger in society that's being overlooked, and it's sociopaths. Sociopaths destroyed my life. Horrible, lying Canadian sociopaths. And these sociopaths, they don't, let's make a distinction here. This is why this is so important, this live stream I'm doing right now. You're going to realize, people eventually will realize how important this live stream is. Let's make the distinction between this woman who's openly crazy, and thank God she was openly crazy, and at least people had the good sense to get off the plane, right? At least, like, of course, it's not good that she was crazy. Of course, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is at least she didn't crash the plane, which is a silver lining to look at it. But then you have sociopaths. Sociopaths would never show themselves as crazy in public like this. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not the best at explaining things, but I'm trying to explain this. So if you don't understand, just ask, I'll clarify. A sociopath commits evil acts. Sociopaths commit evil acts and they get away with it because they're such good liars. And they put on there's the Stepford Wives. They act all innocent in public and act sweet and innocent, and they act all public and they act all sweet in public and innocent. They act all sweet and innocent in public. They act all sweet in public. They act all sweet and innocent in public, okay? The sociopaths, they're liars. They're psychopaths, they're liars. And because they're such good liars, the sociopaths, they're good at deceiving people. These are everyday people that you would never know had a double, another side to them. That's why all of these doctors, these so-called medical professionals in Canada, are always constantly being convicted of being rapists and pedos, because these doctors, especially Canadian doctors, are sociopaths. Many of them are sociopaths, just like I pulled up a recent article of Dr. George Dunant, who was a doctor, an Indian Canadian doctor who was convicted of molesting his own patients. And there was a big Canadian cover-up. Even the Canadian news articles admit there was a cover-up. So clearly sociopaths are flying under the radar. Mind the pun. This lady, this pilot that went crazy that day, she wasn't flying under the radar. She was openly crazy, and they all got off the plane. But there are many sociopaths in society, in the world, that every day these people are getting away with evil acts. Every day. This lady, so let's look at this lady again. For years, she got her pilot's license, which means she clearly has a level of competency. She worked for several years as a pilot. That wasn't her first plane, obviously. So she worked as a pilot for several years. She had her pilot's license. Clearly this woman had a level of competency, right? Then after years of abuse, for example, let's say she's been called, racist for no reason. Which, if you're a white person and you've been called racist for no reason, hey, everyone in the audience, right? Raise your hand. Is there any white people who's ever been falsely accused of being racist? And did that drive you a bit crazy? Everyone would raise their hand. Like, I would probably estimate 99% of white people all over the world would raise their hand and say that they were falsely accused of being racist, and it kind of drove them crazy a bit. Because when you're not racist and you're falsely accused of being racist by the thugs, the criminal thugs, and we all know who those are. Like the same criminal thugs who beat me up and stole my money and got away with it. Ohio police. Criminal thugs, I'm referring to the Ohio police, or the criminal thugs. And then Anna Kasparian, for all these years, was pretending to be anti-police. Oh, she's against the police, to fund the police. And recently, she's totally changed her stance. And now she's calling all the victims of police brutality. She's now just blanket statements, just saying, oh, they're crazy, this person's crazy, that person's crazy, this person's crazy, that person's crazy. You know what's crazy is did you remember those 7 police officers that beat up that old woman? It was in the news just several months ago. It resurfaced again. There were 7 police officers who beat up an old woman. And the old woman, when you see the body cam footage, she did nothing wrong. Now that police officers beating up an old woman, those police officers are crazy. So sociopaths every day are getting away with so much. And unfortunately, the United States of America has just made so many enemies, unfortunately, that karma will go around. Comes around, karma goes around. And there's not just sociopaths in the game. There's obviously sociopaths, which are many Americans are sociopaths, not all Americans, but clearly, like Candace Owens is pointing out, there's clearly a bunch of lying sociopaths in the Turning Point organization. So I'm not even the one, like, of course I've said this, but I'm not the one saying this right now. But of course I pointed out that there's sociopaths in America, but right now Candace Owens very specifically in her videos have been pointing out that Turning Point clearly must have sociopaths, like deep level lying. They're liars on a deeper level. The American feds are lying sociopaths. Kash Patel, we can't trust what he's saying. And Kash Patel coming out and saying, oh, yeah, maybe we should look at these conspiracy theories. That's not Kash Patel doing a good investigation job. That's Kash Patel realizing that people are onto him, starting to realize that Kash Patel is probably one of those sociopaths, those lying sociopaths. And then Kash Patel to one notch up, another notch on his sociopath belt. And then Kash Patel, to further his sociopathic agenda, he does something to try to make it look like he's not a sociopath. And Kash Patel, the FBI director, he comes out and says, oh yeah, let's look at these conspiracy theories. Kash Patel, who even allowed this to be happen in the first place, Kash Patel, FBI director, to allow Charlie Kirk to be assassinated in the first place, and then Kash Patel clearly fumbled the ball. Kash Patel, not only that, but they put out this story, they arrested the wrong guy, that has holes in the story, and then when Candace Owens finds the holes in the story, then Kash Patel's like, oh, he was caught, so now he's going to pretend like he's the good guy, and he's going to say, oh yeah, there's holes in the story. Wait, Kash Patel, you were the one who put out the story. FBI Director Kash Patel, you're the one who put out this crazy story that no one believed. Candace Owens poked holes in your story, Kash Patel, and then Kash Patel turns around and says, oh yeah, this story that Kash Patel put out, he just realized, yeah, there's holes in it, and you're the one who put out the story, Kash Patel. So now you're going back and you're trying to make it look like you're one of the good guys, and you're gonna investigate these conspiracy theories because these conspiracy theories must be onto something. But first, let's remember that FBI Director Kash Patel was the one who put out this whole crazy narrative, which didn't make sense. So he's the primary liar. He's the patient zero. Like not patient zero. He's the primary liar. The FBI Director Kash Patel is no one believed, and then now he's turning around like a sociopath. FBI Director Kash Patel is turning around like a sociopath and saying, oh yeah, this story doesn't make sense. Well, you're the one who put out the story, so you're just now telling people that the story you put out doesn't make sense. So see, the sociopaths in America, they're continuing to fool people, they're continuing to lie, and the United States government, the people who run the United States government, the rich elites, the evil rich elites, they live in their fortresses and their mansions. They live in their tall castles. They're not afraid of war. And for them, since they're so rich and they're so elitist, that they get bored. They get bored. They get bored. They get bored of gold. They get bored of being able to sleep with whoever they want, men or women. They get bored of cars and trips to Hawaii. And they get all of those things, they don't thrill them anymore. Those things have become mundane to these rich elites. These rich elites don't get thrilled out of that anymore. These things which would thrill the normal people, hardworking blue-collar people, obviously a trip to Hawaii would thrill a blue-collar worker. That would be amazing for them. But these evil rich elites who've already been to Hawaii, they've been there, done that, they had the sports cars, slept with men and women, did all those things, they do the drugs. They're not happy anymore. Nothing thrills them anymore. Then they become sociopathic and psychopathic. Then they start to realize that they have so much power as rich elites that they could literally get away with anything. Anything. And then they start slowly and slowly doing more and more really evil stuff, like black market stuff, like deep, you know what I mean? So they start more and more, and suddenly they realize that because of they're so rich and they're so powerful, they're so elitist, they could literally get away with anything. So the rich elites in America, they are doing stuff behind the scenes, and there's no supervision, there is no overwatch, because they just bribe the police. Which mall cop, which everyday mall cop, which everyday donut eating cop, which, you know, did you see that Pete Hegseth or whatever, the secretary or whatever, Pete Hegseth or something, I can't say his name, Hegseth or something, Seth Hegseth, whatever his name is, Seth Gardens, I don't know, whatever, Pete Hegseth, I can't say his name today, I don't know why, but anyways, he was being insulting to the American military, talking about the fat generals, right? Well, the United States government, well, Americans have been fat for a while, but anyways, the United States government has bigger problems than obesity, mind the pun. The United States government has way bigger problems than just obesity right now, mind the pun. Because the evil rich elites, the sociopaths, who are doing really screwed up stuff, like blood rituals, sacrificing people, they're evil rich elites. I'm not saying it's Elon Musk. I'm not saying he's the one doing it. But he's one of many rich elites that there is no supervision. There's no overwatch. So if Elon Musk was doing stuff like that, nobody would know. Because nobody monitors Elon Musk. Explain this to me, huh? Everyday people who go through TSA get patted down, strip searched even, put through the body scanner. Elon Musk, who's a billionaire, who literally has the money and the funds and the resources to do anything he wants, he never gets patted down by the TSA. He never gets strip searched. He never gets put through a body scanner. He never gets interrogated because he's a rich elite billionaire, Elon Musk. Now, I'm just using him as an example. I'm not saying Elon Musk is one of those crazy rich elites that does blood sacrifices. I'm not saying that Elon Musk is one of those crazy rich elites. But I'm just saying if he was one of them, we would never know because, you know, everyday people get subjected to TSA pat-downs and strip searches and body scanners. But Elon Musk, rich elite billionaires like Elon Musk, they don't get patted down by the TSA. They have private planes. Elon Musk has a private plane. No one's patting Elon Musk down when he gets on his private plane. So if Elon Musk touches down in Greece and Turkey and touches down in Iran and then goes to Paris or France, especially that place Shamian or whatever, Shamian. If Elon Musk suddenly just goes to France for the weekend and he gets back on his private plane, there's no TSA agent who's patting down Elon Musk when he gets on his private plane to see what Elon Musk is taking back from France, Paris, or whichever city in France, the Lyons or whatever, whatever city in de Gaulle, whatever city he came from. You see what I'm saying? These rich elites, they're not being supervised, they're not being watched, they're not being monitored. And many of these rich elites, like everyday stuff doesn't thrill them no more. Everyday things like fast cars, things that would make us happy, things that would make everyday people happy, like, oh, if I had a Lamborghini, oh, you better believe I would be happy if I had a Lamborghini, but I don't even want a Lamborghini. I would rather have a big telescope because I'm a scientist. I love science and mathematics. I'm an astronomer. So I would actually salivate over I'm not going to eat a telescope, but you know what I mean. I would be really happy to have a big giant telescope because I'm a scientist. But for example, for every other day people who would dream of having a Lamborghini, right, that would thrill them. But Elon Musk, he's been there, done that. The fast car, and I'm not just talking about Elon Musk. I used his name as an example, but evil rich elites in general. evil rich elites in general. Fast cars, Lamborghinis, trips to Hawaii doesn't thrill them no more. So what do? They start doing things that are illegal, and they start playing God. They play God. They really play God. And there's some real mad scientists. There's some really like evil, rich elite mad scientists playing God right now in laboratories around the world. And they do blood rituals, and they experiment with people's blood, especially with blood. They experiment with people's blood, especially with blood. And these evil rich elites, they're not being supervised. They're not being watched. And they're sociopaths. So is this lady on this plane, this pilot that had a mental breakdown because she was being abused in a relationship from her husband, because she was being treated like garbage as an employee all those years as a pilot? People, I'm sure, randomly falsely accused her of being racist when she wasn't racist, and she had finally had a mental breakdown. Of course, you know, she wasn't capable or able to fly the plane that day. She should not have flown the plane because she did have a mental breakdown. But you know what's far more dangerous in society right now? All of these rich elite sociopaths, rich elite evil sociopaths who are getting away with evil stuff. And they're not being subjected to TSA pat-downs. They're not being strip searched or sent in the body scanners. Elon Musk, Bill Gates, all of these guys, okay? They all have private planes. Nobody watches what they're doing. Nobody monitors them. There's no police force. There is no police force which monitors the rich elites. None whatsoever. There is no police force in America which supervises or monitors the rich elites, which has caused the rich elites to realize that they can become gods, which has caused the rich elites to suddenly have this God complex. It's a God complex. When the rich elites realize that they have so much money and power that they can literally get away with anything because they can just bribe the police and the police will never arrest. The police will never arrest Elon Musk. I'm not saying Elon Musk, like I said, I'm not saying Elon Musk is guilty. I'm just using him as an example. If Elon Musk was guilty of something, the police would never arrest Elon Musk. Elon Musk has so much money and power, he could literally get away with anything and the police would never arrest him. The police would never search his house. The police would never strip search him. The police would never do a pat down even. Elon Musk and a lot of these other super rich elites, they literally act like gods. And then when they realize they have power like gods because they're so rich and elite that it's almost like they're gods, then they start playing God. They start having these illegal laboratories. They experiment on people. They do blood sacrifices, blood rituals, and they experiment with the human genome, and they do other crazy stuff. So there is no police force right now that supervises, monitors, and watches the rich elites. There is no police force in America or in the world that actually holds the rich elites accountable, which leads the rich elites, the evil sociopathic rich elites, to be able to pretty much get away with whatever they want. Is anyone gonna, just think logically. I'm not saying he did. Okay, I'm not saying he did. But do you think with Elon Musk and all his money and power, you really think he hasn't broken any laws? Really? With all his money and power? Like, I'm not saying just because someone has all that money and power necessarily means that they broke laws. But you have to admit that there's a lot of rich elites, because of their money and power, they've probably broken a lot of laws and done a lot of illegal stuff, but they'll never be arrested because of their money and power and because they're rich elite status. And it caused them to become sociopaths, and they're getting away with a lot of evil stuff. And you know, I am repeating myself, but this is important. This is important because, you know, of course, if a pilot who worked hard for years, she's a female pilot, she worked hard for years, and, you know, she was shit on all her life, and her husband cheated on her, and she was mistreated, and, you know, thuggies randomly falsely accused her of being a racist, and then finally it drove her crazy, and she snapped, and then she's embarrassed for the whole world to see, right? But this is a woman who worked for years. She got her pilot's license. She's not a drug addict. She's not a thuggy criminal who goes around robbing banks like a thuggy criminal. She was a woman who got her pilot's license, She probably had to get loans, student loans, and had to work at, Wendy's to pay off. I'm just for an example, right? I would love to work at Wendy's. There's nothing wrong with working at Wendy's, but I'm just saying she probably had to work all of these odd jobs to pay for her pilot's license, right? She worked hard, and for years, she got her pilot's license. She worked hard. She went to her 9 to 5 job, and for years she was shit on. She was called randomly, falsely accused of being racist, probably by thugs. She was mistreated in the workplace. Her husband cheated on her, and then she snaps, has a mental breakdown, and then is embarrassed for the whole world to see. But this is a woman who maintained a job for years at least. She's not like a rich elite like Elon Musk, who God knows what he does, or these other rich elites. She's not a thuggy. She's not a thug who robs banks, or a thug that is a home. She's not a thug rapper like Puff Daddy, who God knows what he's done. She's not a drug addict. She's not a one of those corrupt casino security supervisors who allows thugs to rob out the elderly and then cash out their machines. She's not one of those corrupt Ohio police officers that goes around, beats up gay Canadians, and then falsely accuses the homosexual Canadians of being spies, Canadian spies, as if Canada is sending all these Canadian spies to spy on you Americans, as if we really care, as if Canada really cares enough to send Canadian spies to Ohio to spy on Americans, Which I don't even know why you would be monitoring Ohio for Canadian spies. I mean, you should really be monitoring Washington, D.C., and Texas, and Des Moines, Iowa, and other places like that, and Alaska, Anchorage, Alaska. Those are key hot places probably for Canadian spies. I don't know why you would even be looking in Ohio, but there's dirty Ohio cops. And they just constantly, if someone has a Canadian accent, the dirty Ohio cops just they see Canadians and they think we're weak. These especially gay Canadians, they think we're weak. They think gay Canadians are weak. They think we're weak pushovers. And then these dirty Ohio cops, they go around, they rob and they beat up innocent gay Canadian tourists who were not Canadian spies and were just vacationing in Ohio. So that's what I'm saying. The United States has a lot of enemies. The United States, there's sociopaths all over the United States. There's sociopath police officers. There's sociopaths rich elites. There's sociopath, clearly people in the Turning Point organization, as Candace Owens is pointing out. There's clearly sociopaths there. There's deep level liars. There's thugs. There's criminals. There's money launderers. There's drug dealers and drug addicts. So, yeah, this woman who had a job, at least she had a job for years. She got her pilot's license, which clearly means she's competent to a level, right? That's an accomplishment. And if this lady who, is embarrassed and never wants to fly again because she had a mental breakdown, because she got so, because she just had enough after years of abuse and she had a mental breakdown and she's so embarrassed she'll never want to fly again, she should remind herself that she actually got her pilot's license, which is not easy thing to do. And she should be proud of that and proud that she at least worked for several years. Even though then they shit on her and thugs called her racist for no reason, and then probably her husband probably abused her all those years, and then she mentally stopped, and then she had a mental breakdown. But at least she wasn't a drug addict, at least she wasn't a criminal thug, a white-collar criminal, at least she didn't do insider trading, at least she wasn't a rapist, at least she wasn't any of these other evil things in society that everyone gets, all these rich elites get away with. All of these rich elites like Elon Musk, they get away with horrendous. I'm not saying Elon Musk is, I'm just saying because he's a rich elite, I'm just saying, listen, if Elon Musk was doing illegal stuff, we would never know because there's no police force which is monitoring and watching the rich elites. So I'm not going to sit here and say that Elon Musk is innocent. I'm not going to say he's guilty because we don't know for sure he's guilty, but we kind of have an idea. But I'm not going to say he's innocent either because we don't know. We can't say either way. We can't say either because there's no police force right now that monitors the rich elites. There's no police force that polices the rich elites. Because the rich elites like Elon Musk, they just bribe the police. They just bribe the police and they have so much money and power, the rich elites, they just get away with everything. So this pilot, and keep in mind, I'm a homosexual man who was falsely accused of being misogynist, and I'm sitting here saying, hey, sure, this female pilot had a mental breakdown and it was embarrassing for the world to see. But let's look at these other things of the case. Let's examine this case. This is a woman who got her pilot's license, which is not an easy thing to do. She worked hard and studied and got her pilot's license, which means she has some level of competency. She worked for several years for an airline, which probably mistreated her. The same airlines that mistreat the customers and loses their luggage, and then the airline blames you. So she worked several years for probably a shitty airline, which mistreated her. She probably had to deal with annoying customers and people on flights, rich, spoiled brats, rich, spoiled brats who, you know, with their mommy's daddy and credit card, with daddy's credit card, like, oh, for her 18th birthday party, she got a trip to Hawaii. She's born with a silver spoon in her mouth. She's a rich valley girl. And on her 18th birthday, when she turned 18, as a graduation present, when she turned 18, she got a trip to Hawaii and a sports car, and a pink sports car. And then she gets on a plane and she starts complaining about the pilot. Oh my God, the pilot. Look at what she's wearing. Oh my God, the pilot. So this pilot had to deal with all types of crazy people on the planes, all types of thuggies calling her racist for no reason. And she probably had to deal with actual misogynistic people, like certain politicians, which I won't necessarily name. In fact, I don't even, this female pilot, she probably doesn't even think that gay men are misogynistic, because she's, you know, if anyone who's smart enough to get a pilot's license would not have a point of view that gay men are misogynistic. That's like low level thinking, to think that all gay men that the reason gay men don't like women is because they're misogynist. That's low level thinking. Well, you could ask, if that's the stupid logic you have, then why don't you ask the same about straight women? Straight women don't want to date women either. Does that mean that they're misogynistic? If a gay man prefers to date men, and then you think that because a gay man prefers to date men, oh, why doesn't he want to date me? Why doesn't the gay man want to date the stupid valley girl? The stupid college graduate. She graduated with a degree in social media and drinking. She has a degree, a university degree in social media and drink. She graduated with honors in social media and daytime drinking, and she's a graduate, a university graduate. Why doesn't a gay guy want to date her? She's a college graduate in social media. So then people would call a gay man misogynist for having a preference to want to date men. But then, if that's the stupid logic you have, why wouldn't you then apply that to straight women? Because straight women don't want to date women either. Straight women also date men. So gay men want to date men, straight women want to date men. Does that mean that straight women and gay men are misogynistic? No, it just means that we prefer to date men because men are just men and they're not, you know. So there you go. For anyone who calls me misogynist and assumes that all gay people are misogynists, that's not true. And I just defended this female pilot who very well, I could just have gone with the group. And listen, I'm not defending her. Hold on a sec, because I don't want people twisting this here. I'm acknowledging, obviously, that she had a mental breakdown and she should not have flown the plane that day. I've acknowledged that. I've said that obviously she had a mental breakdown. But what I'm also saying is this is a woman who wasn't a drug addict. She wasn't a thuggy criminal. She wasn't a bank robber. She wasn't a criminal rapper like Puff Daddy. God knows what he does. This is a woman who got her pilot's license, which in order to get your pilot's license means you have a level of competency. She worked hard. She got her pilot's license, and she worked as a pilot for years. So she had a job for years. She wasn't just living off daddy's credit cards. So, while yes, she did have a mental breakdown after years of being abused by her husband and being falsely accused of being a racist and having to listen to crazy, unruly passengers on the airplane. She finally had a mental breakdown after years. But I also pointed out the fact, which other people probably didn't point this out. I'm the one, a gay man, is pointing out, and looking at this, the bright side, and looking at the silver lining of this woman, and appreciating the fact that she wasn't a drug addict, she wasn't a criminal thug bank robber, she wasn't a criminal pedo like Puff Daddy, and she's a woman who got her pilot's license, which that's an accomplishment. It's not easy to get your pilot's license, to be able to fly a plane. Just to be able to get your pilot's license alone and graduate from pilot school, that's an accomplishment. I don't think Anna Kasparian could have gotten her pilot's license. Anna Kasparian, who likes to accuse all of the police brutality victims of being crazy, I don't think Anna Kasparian could be smart enough to get her pilot's license. But this pilot did. I mean, maybe Anna Kasparian proved me wrong, like Charlie Kirk, like the Charlie Kirk tent, right? Like Charlie Kirk said, prove me wrong. So, hey, Anna Kasparian, who likes to call people crazy, who police brutality victims, who likes, for example, she might have even called that old woman that got beat up by those 7 cops crazy. Hey, Anna Kasparian, if that's true, I'm asking a question here. I'm not saying she did. I'm just asking a question. Hey, Anna Kasparian, I noticed lately you've been calling people crazy. Hey, Anna Kasparian, would you be able to be smart enough to get your pilot's license? I'm not saying you're not, but prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, right? And I didn't say that you couldn't, right? So it's not like you're necessarily proving me wrong because I didn't assert that you couldn't. But I'm asking you a question. I'm asking a question. I'm asking a question to the public. This is a rhetorical question, okay? This is a rhetorical question. Would people from the general public be smart enough to be able to get their pilot's license? So being able to get a pilot's license is a very good accomplishment. It's an accomplishment, and it means you have a level of competency. So this woman, after she was embarrassed, after having a mental breakdown, she should at least be proud that she was able to accomplish getting a pilot's license and being able to fly a plane successfully for several years. Until, of course, she did have a mental breakdown because she was treated like garbage by the airline and other people for years, by her own husband. She was treated like garbage, which was very unfortunate and sad it led her to have a mental breakdown. It's very sad what happened to this woman. Very sad. Very tragic. I'm going to go to the comments now and see what the comments said. I just want to say, I'm not LGBTQ. I am not, okay? I am a gay man who, if it were up to me, I would still be closeted because I prefer to be closeted. But I was outed in a gay witch hunt by homophobic women. I'm not part of the LGBTQ. I don't go to pride parades. I don't go to any of those parades. I don't throw dildos around and I don't throw glitter. And I don't wear stupid girly rainbow flags. No, I don't do none of that. I don't have girly rainbow flags. I don't wear I do not wear stupid girly rainbow flags. I do not. The rainbow flag is emasculating to real gay men. Gay men do not like rainbow flags. Girly rainbow flags are emasculating to men. That is a symbol of emasculation, which no gay man would ever support. No real gay man with any dignity would ever support an emasculating rainbow flag. Maybe a valley girl who graduated at 18, or for graduating high school at 18, she got her daddy's car. Her daddy gave her a car. When she was 18, she's a valley girl, and she graduated high school at 18, and then because she graduated high school, her rich elite daddy, gave her a car for her 18th birthday. Maybe she would like the rainbow flag. Maybe she would like the rainbow flag because she likes rainbows, right? Because like valley girls that graduated high school at 18, and then because they graduated high school, then their daddy awards them with a sports car. She gets a Lamborghini when she's 18. Maybe she would like a rainbow a flag. She might like the rainbow flag. She might even paint the Lamborghini rainbow colors. But however, gay men, we don't use the rainbow flag. The rainbow flag is emasculating for gay men. And real gay men, we do not support the rainbow flag. Real gay men do not support the rainbow flag. We're not part of the LGBTQ, all of that crap. We're not transgender. We're not cutting dicks off. Gay men don't do that. Gay men love dick. Gay men would never cut dicks off. So anyways. And with that being said, America, Candace Owens, Trish Reagan, Tucker Carlson, Trump, JD Vance, all of these people, any one of them could be a sociopath. Sociopaths are straight up liars. The deceivers, sociopaths. They are pure deceivers and liars. They do not show their true colors in public. So any one of those people, anyone in America, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, any of these major politicians, or rich elites, or even rich elites like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, any of these people could be hardcore sociopaths and psychopaths. Any of those people could be. Sociopaths do not show their true colors in public. Sociopaths are like wolves in sheep's clothing, okay? Sociopaths are like wolves in sheep's clothing. They do not show their true colors in public. Anybody in America, anyone, and usually more often than not, the sociopaths, the real sociopaths, are rich elites. So there could be a whole bunch of sociopaths right now in the government, working in the government, and no one knows, because sociopaths do not announce to the world that they're sociopaths. They go around, they have 9-to-5 jobs, they lie through their teeth, they pretend to be the most politically correct, and then they're actually lead double lives and they're sociopaths. That's what sociopaths do. And they're rich elites. Because sociopaths, if they have no money, they can't accomplish anything if they have no money. If they're broke and they're sociopathic, they can't get away with anything. They're not like, but if they're rich, for example, I'm just saying an example, if Elon Musk was a sociopath, I'm not saying he is or isn't. I'm not saying he is or isn't a sociopath. I'm just saying if, for example, if Elon Musk was a sociopath, because of his money and power, he could get away with anything, right? So usually, more often than not, the sociopaths that America needs to really watch out for are rich elites. I'm not saying all rich elites are sociopaths. I'm just saying that it's the rich elites who are sociopaths that America needs to watch out for. Okay? I didn't say all rich elites are sociopaths. What I'm saying, let me make it clear, is that there are many rich elites who are sociopaths who can literally get away with anything because of their money and power, and the police. There's currently no task force, no police force which currently monitors and supervises the rich elites. And if there was a police force, a specially designated police force, which supervises and monitors the rich elites, probably half of the rich elites would be in prison right now for serious crimes for like 1,000 years. Like literally, if there was a police force, a task force set up to specially prosecute, monitor, and supervise rich elites, give them TSA pat downs, strip searches, everything. If there was a special police task force set up to investigate and to pursue and investigate and arrest rich elites, evil sociopathic rich elites, probably half of the rich elites would be in prison and would have 1,000-year sentences. But because American judges are lying sociopaths, rich elite lying sociopaths, because American police are sociopaths, because American politicians are sociopaths, all of the evil sociopaths, all of the evil rich elites, like all the rich elites on the Epstein files, which they never released, all of the rich elites on the Epstein files, they're all getting away with it. Because they're all evil rich elites and they all cover for each other. So Candace Owens, if you really, and other people who are, and Candace Owens, I mean, I must say something. I must say something about Candace Owens. Before the Charlie Kirk assassination, she was sus. I wasn't really sure about her. But after the Charlie Kirk assassination and after what Candace Owens has been doing, trying to find the truth, now I actually believe Candace Owens is not a sociopath. But before the Charlie Kirk assassination, I actually wasn't sure about Candace Owens. I thought she very well could be a sociopath. I wasn't sure about her, to be honest, before the Charlie Kirk assassination. But after the Charlie Kirk assassination, seeing how Candace Owens is actually picking apart the story, is actually trying to find the truth and find the real evidence and find the real culprit behind the Charlie Kirk assassination, now I believe 99.9% that Candace Owens is most definitely probably not a sociopath, and she is one of the good guys. But like I said, everyone else in America, all the other politicians, all the other judges, all the other rich elites like Elon Musk, we don't know. We don't know if they're sociopaths. We don't know if they're criminals. We don't know what the kind of evil stuff that they're doing. God knows what they're doing, because there's no police force in America that monitors, supervises, and arrests the rich elites. All of the evil rich elites, because of their money and power, they get away with evil stuff, like really evil, horrendous things. They get away with evil, horrible acts, and they get away with it because they're rich elites. They have all the money and power. They just bribe the police. So, America, hey, you did this whole DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. Why don't you do a Department of Prosecuting the Evil Rich Elites Department? Why don't you make a whole Department of Prosecuting Evil Rich Elites? And you probably will see that half of the rich elites in America would be arrested, put in jail for like thousands of years for all of the evil stuff they've done. For example, Benjamin Netanyahu, which clearly is now being exposed as a sociopath, an evil rich elite sociopath, Benjamin Netanyahu, thanks to Candace Owens. Benjamin Netanyahu is finally being exposed as the lying sociopath he is, the evil rich lying sociopath he is. But there's many other rich elites in America who are evil lying sociopaths. There are many other rich elites in America who are evil lying sociopaths, and just imagine what they've gotten away with, which you have no idea what they've done.